My brother hacked into everything and is trying to control my life. I'm in my second year of undergrad at a state university in California, and I'm having an issue with my brother who is in his late 20s and a computer engineer. That is relevant to my issue. As a side note, I know very little about computers other than basic Googling skills. My brother is a very type A person, very perfectionist and hardworking, often to the detriment of himself and others. He is a nice and positive person and is successful in the traditional sense, but he is very controlling and has a bit of an overblown ego. I'm a much more relaxed person, and the two of us share very little in the way of interests or guiding philosophies. I'm a visual arts major who likes to draw, and he's the type of person who watched Fight Club and thought that Taylor Durden was onto something. We get along but have hostilities. My brother resents the fact that I'm not like him and I don't look up to him as a role model. He's very fond of mocking my interests, hobbies, career plans, and he often talks literally about a plan for me and wish I change my major to engineering and start taking his advice. When he brings this up now over the phone, I stop talking to him for whatever amount of days or weeks until he apologizes and we do it all over again. 2 weeks ago, my brother made a joke referencing a piece of digital art I drew on my laptop. I didn't think anything of it until I realized that after the call ended, I never posted that piece of art anywhere, not even onto any cloud device. It had only been available on my physical laptop. I was nervous and downloaded Malwarebytes and it didn't find anything. Thinking back, I also recalled my brother making a joke about something I said to a friend privately on my Discord, which also was not publicly available. Checking Gmail and a few other websites I'm on that showed options, I discovered someone had been logging onto my accounts from an unfamiliar computer and had then been doing so for about a week. I called my brother about this and he laughed and told me that he had remote access to my computer and that he'd be checking up on everything I was doing from this point on. I told him that that was ridiculous, and he basically laughed and said that people today have no reasonable expectation of privacy anyway. Without going into detail, I basically discovered that my brother literally has access to everything in my life. My bank account, school account, my art chat accounts, all the files on my computer. He has even referenced information that leads me to think that there is a very good chance of him having a camera or microphone in my room. He has been in my apartment in the last month, and the only reason I think he might not is because I haven't been able to find it. There is nothing on my computer or cloud files or anything I'm even remotely embarrassed about, but the idea that my brother has all my information is terrible and I want him to stop. I don't feel comfortable in my apartment or using my computer or personal accounts anymore. I'm writing this from my school's library.
Am I the asshole for not moving out of my table at a restaurant so a couple could have their wedding shoot? I was having dinner with my best friend in a very popular restaurant in our city. It's one of those really aesthetic ones full of flowers. While we were sitting there dining and minding our business, a couple dressed as a bride and groom comes in. They were having their day after photo shoot around downtown apparently, and also stopped at the restaurant to take pictures. I didn't mind their presence and they were just doing their thing. When I started getting annoyed though was when the photographer asked us to move seats for around 15 minutes so he could photograph the couple. I guess our spot was one of the most famous parts of the restaurant. Am I the asshole for not moving out of my table at a restaurant so a couple could have their wedding shoot? We kindly declined as we were already dining, having a table full of meals. Plus the restaurant was packed, so only a couple of really small tables were empty for us to sit. The photographer kept insisting that we please pause for a while and do this favor to the newlyweds. We declined and the couple started begging us and saying how special it was. My friend and I said that we understand, but this is a restaurant and they don't own the restaurant and can't just have people move seats. The groom yelled and asked for the manager to step in and move us, and the manager declined. The bride was tearing up and called us heartless, and they eventually left, so am I wrong?
I believe my neighbor next door may have been sold or used for citizenship. I have a next door neighbor who moved into the apartment next door to mine in June 2021 and has been a major nuisance. She's schizophrenic and is constantly screaming, banging, smoking, and loitering around the complex, playing her music and singing loudly, or screaming or talking at no one. She looks very unkempt constantly and mentally unwell based on her hygiene. I'm definitely empathetic to those with mental illness, but have had to make a couple reports to her property manager asking if any action can be taken because she lives next door and has made the living situation tense for me and my partner and somewhat difficult to focus while working from home. Every time he said they will talk to her and her husband, and the situation gets very, very marginally better for a small interval, but goes back to being just as bad very swiftly, so we've kind of given up and learned to live with it. Here's the thing with the husband. We were confused what husband the property manager was even referring to, because when they first moved in, we saw a dude maybe once, but then never again for at least months. Eventually, I started to notice a guy would come around maybe once every 1 or 2 weeks, get packages, then be gone almost as soon as he arrived. Whenever he was here, the woman was usually quiet and not being disruptive as usual. I saw the guy's name once or twice on packages, and a very close friend and I thought something might definitely be fishy with the situation, so we did some digging on the internet, and here's the deal. He was born in India, and according to Facebook, studied engineering at a couple colleges there, then most recently studied at a university in San Jose, California. So at some point, he immigrated to the US from India. He's listed as single on Facebook, and there's no trace of the wife anywhere on his socials. Strangely, a people search showed that he lives in Sunnyvale, near San Jose, but the apartment where the woman lives next to us in Oakland is about a 60-minute drive north. I recently read a comment on a post about family secrets in which someone mentioned that their uncle sold their schizophrenic aunt, his daughter, to someone outside the country so that they could get citizenship, and everything kind of clicked for me. Their living space is very sparse and empty when I get glances inside, and it seems almost like this man might just be storing her there, but otherwise living, working, and properly dating elsewhere. If my suspicions are correct, it makes me wonder about the legality and morality, of course, of a clearly mentally unsound individual that has been potentially goaded or somehow forced or sold into a marriage like this for the sake of someone else's citizenship. I really can't think of many other scenarios this could be unless I'm missing something. Am I the asshole for selling my late husband's home out from under his parents? Last year my husband died in a car accident. We were separated for about a year prior but not officially divorced, so I was named the administrator of his estate. I have my own home and I'm financially independent. We had 2 children together. In late summer of last year, I learned that his parents were the beneficiaries and received a boatload of money. Since his death, his parents have told me that they have wanted to buy the home. I've been waiting for them to go through with the purchase since August. I've been paying the mortgage on his home ever since. In February, I warned them that I was sick of paying for 2 mortgages and that I needed them to go through with the purchase. They have dragged their feet ever since and told me that it was in their lawyer's hands and that they had no control. My lawyer had not received any kind of formal offer from them other than their lawyer stating that they were interested. Last week, I was approached by a gentleman willing to pay good money for the home. I warned them hoping it would make them move forward on their end, but they scoffed and told me that I need to just be patient and wait. It has been an entire year of waiting, of them letting me pay the mortgage on his home and support our children while they go on vacations, make large purchases, and pay off their debt with the life insurance. Am I the asshole for accepting an offer from someone that isn't them? Is selling the home of their dead son wrong?
My husband had a car accident 1 month after we got married. The doctor told us he would never be able to give me a child due to some injuries he sustained during the accident. This was very difficult for me to hear because I wanted kids. But I loved my husband, so I decided to stay with him, despite the fact that I would never be able to bear a child with him. This is not my story, by the way. It was sent to me on Instagram. Now, 5 years after the accident, we were planning on adopting a child when I got pregnant all of a sudden. It was a miracle. When I told my husband the good news, he broke down in tears. We were not expecting a child of our own at all. The next person we told was his mom, and that was when all hell broke loose. This woman called me into the kitchen alone after we gave her the good news. She begged me to tell my husband the truth. I was confused because I didn't really know the truth she was talking about. She said she knows the child is not for her son and that I was carrying another man's child. I was shocked to hear this from her. How could she say that to me? She said the doctor had made it clear her son could never give birth and that the baby I was carrying was not for her son. She kept repeating this over and over again. So I called my husband into the kitchen. She told him what she had told me. My husband got very angry immediately. He told her the baby was his and that I would never cheat on him. We both left her place in anger, but that was not the end of the story. This woman called my husband's relatives, people we were not ready to break the news to yet. She told them I was carrying another man's baby. Soon, everyone we knew had heard of the pregnancy. She said I was treating her son like a fool because he loves me. She called and texted me several times in a day to go for a DNA test to prove the baby was for her son. I couldn't take it anymore, so I blocked her number. My husband warned her to stop harassing me and to stop talking about our baby, but this woman didn't give up. She went to my church to beg the pastor to beg me to speak the truth. My pastor advised me to do the DNA test. He said that was the only way I could shut her up. Before going in for the test, I called her and told her if the baby turns out to be for her son, I will make sure she will never come anywhere close to my child. She would never be in my child's life. She laughed and told me the baby was not for her son. So I went for the test, and lo and behold, the baby was really for her son. She was speechless when she heard the news. I warned her to stay away from me. I gave birth to a baby boy 2 months after this. During the naming ceremony of the baby, I saw my mother-in-law dressed in all white with 2 of his sisters. They were about to enter into the venue of the naming ceremony. I jumped up immediately and asked her to leave. She looked startled and then she started laughing. She thought I was joking. I asked my husband to walk her out, or else I was going to cancel the naming ceremony. My husband took her hand and walked her out of the place. I guess she thought I was joking when I told her she would have nothing to do with my child. Am I the asshole? This follower needs your opinions, babes. Please drop some below.